Well, good afternoon, everybody. Here we are on the motorcycle again for another short lesson on human relations, leadership, and management skills. Now, in the unlikely event that we've had some motovloggers tune in because you think that you're going to find wheelies, F-bombs, and road rage scenarios, this is not the place, because I'm doing this video for my college students at the university. However, if you'd like to stick around, you're perfectly welcome to, but you're not going to find any of that Yahoo wheelie stuff here. You might find it rather boring, but anyway, here we go, because we're talking about Dale Carnegie's powerful human relations principles that any manager or leader should be thoroughly conversant with, because they help us navigate through the difficult human environment that we have to learn how to do if we're going to be a successful manager or leader, or frankly just a successful human being, because life is all about relationships and getting along with people. And Dale Carnegie was the master, and after all these years he still is. And we can find connections to Dale Carnegie's basic human relations, easy to apply principles, and if you want to make it more complicated, we can connect them to some more complicated principles. So when we think about honest and sincere appreciation, we're talking here about the feeling of gratitude or admiration when some things happen. And there are so many things that happen around us that we can be grateful for or that we can admire. And sometimes we miss the opportunities to express those feelings. And that's what Dale Carnegie was concerned about, that we should make a habit to more often express appreciation for those things, especially those things people do for us every day. Now, that's not a new principle. Abraham Maslow, many years ago, wrote one of the foundation principles of human motivation, and his discovery was that we tend to be motivated on a hierarchy of needs, with our most basic needs being those lower level physiological needs. I want to live today and I want to live tomorrow. Food, water, safety. But after we get those needs satisfied, which today in our world most of us have satisfied, we tend to move up on the hierarchy and we want higher level things. We want to belong. We want to feel like we're a part of something that's bigger than ourselves. And we want to be important. We want our self-esteem needs. I want to be noticed. I want to be recognized. I want to feel important. And then finally we get to the top of that pyramid and what Maslow calls self-actualization needs. I want to be all that I can be. So one of the ways to satisfy those two needs in the middle, one of those ways to help people feel like they belong to our team or our organization and help them feel important, of course, is to give honest and sincere appreciation and praise for the things they do well. Unfortunately, too many organizations think that satisfying those lower level needs of a good paycheck and benefits and vacation time and time off is enough. I've had people actually tell me when I was in my training and development business, their paycheck is appreciation enough. Well, that's a big mistake, because if a manager thinks that way, they're on their road to failure, especially in today's world. So another principle that Dale Carnegie's appreciation rule connects to is the Losada ratio. And Martin Losada was a researcher who spent a lot of time sitting in team meetings in corporations throughout the U.S. And he made notes of the positive and negative statements he heard in those team meetings. And he discovered that there was a correlation between the number of positive statements on the highly successful teams. The really high-performing teams had about a 3-to-1 ratio of positive and negative statements. 2.9 to be exact. Whereas the teams that were failing had a higher ratio of negative statements to the positive. So what we can do with that is to just take an inventory of our own Losada ratio. Do we give more positive statements than negative to the people around us? And if not, let's start doing it. It can transform people's lives, and I'm sure those of you who are listening have had the experience of a mentor or a coach or a parent or someone in your life who has helped you see yourself more accurately in light of your strengths, and strengths that maybe you weren't even aware of. But they were able to communicate to you what they saw in you in a genuine, believable way. And it's probably not an overstatement to say it changed your life. And you and I could do that same thing for other people if we just take the time to be more aware of what people are doing. So the first step is to notice it, is to feel it. And frankly, if you don't feel it, don't do it, because it'll be phony. But the first step is to notice it and to feel it, and then the second step is to take a chance and express it. And here's a couple of quick ideas on how to express it in a more meaningful way. There's nothing wrong with thank you. There's nothing wrong with a thumbs up. There's nothing wrong with a good job. There's nothing wrong with a physical pat on the back. And we should not give up any of those. But here's a way to make that even more meaningful to the person on the receiving end. Is expand it with 3 simple steps. Tell them what you like, tell them why you like it, and tell them why it's important. So let's say you're a manager or a team leader at work and you had an employee who did a great job on a project, completed it on time, everything was done to your satisfaction. Well, one option would be not to say anything at all, because that's just what you expected. Another option might be just to say thank you. Another option might be to say, hey, good job, that's great. But if you really wanted to make a lasting impression on that person, here's what you might say. First of all, tell them what you like, what you appreciate. Hey, John, I really appreciate the great job you did on that project. Number 2, tell them why you like it or appreciate it. You know, one of the things that really impressed me was the amount of time you took to take care of every single detail. There were no mistakes, and every little piece was completed perfectly. The third step is tell them why that's important. And you know, that's really important, John, because I know that you want to get a promotion and move up with the company, and if you continue to approach your work with that level of detail and attention, you're going to be very successful. So thank you again for a great job. Now, I'll guarantee you that comment delivered authentically and sincerely will have a lasting effect on that employee. Could even be applied to even simpler things. We've all had good service from a waitress, and we know how overworked and sometimes abused and beaten up waitresses are. Can you imagine how you would make that waitress's day, if in addition to your tip, you just stopped on the way out and said, you know, I want to thank you for the great service you gave us. I really liked the way you came over and checked on us. You were always smiling, you were enthusiastic, you made us feel really welcome. You know, you're a real asset to this business, because it's important for restaurants to have waitresses like you representing them. Thank you again. She's going to take that one home with her. Trust me. Same thing works with your kids, with your friends. So let's all work on being a more appreciative person. Start noticing all the things around us that we're grateful for, all the things that we admire, all the things that can be appreciated. I worked for Chase Bank for 10 years. I was a training and development manager, and I entered into a world of cubicles that I wasn't all that familiar with. And those people sit in those cubicles all day long taking phone calls from difficult customers. And everything they do is measured. All their efforts are converted into numbers. And that's all they hear about from their managers, is either they hit their numbers or they didn't. And the more I got to know those people, the more I became to admire them. Because I learned that some of their lives were shattered. Some of them were in their 30s and they were already grandparents. Some of them were dealing with horrible situations at home. But they still got themselves up in the morning and got themselves to work. And overcame obstacles that I'm not sure I could have done. And the more I learned about that, the more I became to appreciate them. And the more I appreciated them, the more I was able to give them some honest and sincere appreciation and start noticing some of the things they did well. And frankly, for some of them, there weren't that many because their numbers were bad. But I could always pick out something that I could genuinely praise them for. And what happened when I started doing that was I built a rapport and I built trust. And everything is built on rapport and trust, especially if you're going to try to coach or help somebody. When I had rapport and trust with somebody, I could tell them the truth. I could be brutally honest with them. I could sit down with them privately and say, "What were you thinking?" Whereas if I said that to someone that I didn't have trust with or rapport with, they'd go to HR and report me, and I'd be called on the carpet and I would have to defend myself. One of the ways to build trust with people is to point out their strengths. Notice their strengths. Give them that feedback. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Every person I meet is my superior in some way. In that I can learn from them." Look at everybody you work with. And I mean everybody, even the janitor who comes in and cleans the toilets. Look at them as your superior in some way, because they are. They know stuff you don't know. And they can do stuff you can't do. And you know stuff they don't know, and you can do stuff they can't do. But it's not a matter of being a hierarchy where one person's better than the other. You can admire what they do, and you can communicate that to them. Be a more appreciative person. Deal with people in a way, and this happens when you start pointing out people's strengths in a genuine way. You make them think, I like me better when I'm with you. And then you've done a noble thing. You've transformed someone's life, and they'll look back on you years later as being a person who made a real difference in their life. So take Dale Carnegie's advice. Start giving honest, sincere appreciation to people. And as he said, if we do that consistently, we will transform people's lives, and even the undertaker will be sorry when we die. So I'll see you the next time. We'll be talking about Dale Carnegie's principle number 3. Thank you for sticking around if you're still here.